When we embrace silence as a spiritual discipline, we enter into a deeper relationship with God. Silence allows us to pause and recognize that our strength does not come from our ability to speak or act, but from our trust in Him. It is an opportunity to remember God's promises and meditate on His Word, which provides clarity and peace even in the midst of chaos. Silence also shifts our perspective. When we refrain from reacting impulsively, we invite God to show us the bigger picture. In these moments, we see situations not through the lens of our emotions, but through the lens of His purpose. This enables us to respond with wisdom and grace rather than fear or frustration. Silence becomes a tool that aligns us with God's will, opening the way for His guidance. Silence is also a declaration of victory. By choosing not to engage in unnecessary conflicts or defend ourselves when provoked, we acknowledge that God's power is greater than any earthly challenge. The Bible reminds us, "Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone." Romans 12, verse 17. This restraint demonstrates faith in God's justice, which is far more effective and lasting than any defense we could offer. In moments when we feel the need to speak, silence can also serve as a powerful testimony. It shows others that our trust is not in our own ability to control outcomes, but in God's sovereignty. This quiet confidence can inspire those around us to seek the peace and strength that come from trusting Him. Finally, silence prepares us for God's blessings. When we wait on Him, resisting the urge to act hastily, we allow Him to work in ways that exceed our expectations. The lessons learned in stillness, patience, humility, and dependence on God equip us for greater responsibilities and opportunities ahead. By trusting in His timing, we experience the fullness of His provision and purpose. In essence, silence is more than the absence of words. It is an active expression of faith, surrender, and trust. It positions us to hear God's voice, see His hand at work, and witness His power in fulfilling His perfect will. When we embrace silence, we create space for God to move in our lives, transforming challenges into opportunities for growth and victories that glorify His name. Let us remember that silence, guided by faith, is not passive. It is a bold declaration that we trust God to lead, defend, and provide in every situation. When embraced with faith and intention, silence becomes a transformative force in our spiritual journey. It allows God to teach us, refine us, and reveal His purpose in ways that words or actions cannot. In moments of stillness, God works most deeply, aligning our will with His and preparing us for the plans He has for us. One of the most powerful aspects of silence is its ability to deepen our intimacy with God. In stillness, we are more capable of discerning His voice, free from the distractions and noise of the world. As Psalm 46 verse 10 reminds us, "Be still, and know that I am God." This stillness is not just an external inactivity, but an internal posture of surrender, recognizing that God is in control and that His wisdom surpasses our understanding. Silence also promotes spiritual maturity. When we resist the impulse to react impulsively, we demonstrate self-control, a fruit of the Spirit. As we grow in patience and humility, we become better equipped to handle greater challenges and responsibilities with grace and wisdom, allowing God's character to be reflected in our lives. Every act of restraint becomes an opportunity for God to work in us, making us instruments of His peace and vessels of His love. Beyond that, silence allows God to fight our battles on our behalf. When we step back and choose not to engage in conflicts or defend ourselves, we invite God to intervene in ways that bring lasting resolution and justice. As Exodus 14 verse 14 reminds us, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." This trust in God's power to act frees us from the burden of worry and control, allowing us to rest in His promises. Silence also transforms the way we relate to others. It enables us to listen more deeply, respond with kindness, and build stronger relationships based on understanding rather than conflict. By choosing silence in moments of tension or misunderstandings, we create opportunities for reconciliation and healing. This intentional stillness becomes a testimony of God's grace and love working within us. Ultimately, silence prepares us for God's blessings. In waiting, God is refining our hearts, strengthening our faith, and aligning circumstances to fulfill His perfect plan. Though it can be challenging to remain still in times of uncertainty, this waiting is not in vain. It is a time of preparation, growth, and strengthening, a reminder that God's timing is always perfect. In conclusion, silence is not a sign of passivity or weakness, but a profound act of trust in God's sovereignty. It is a declaration of faith, a commitment to humility, and a recognition of God's supreme control over all aspects of our lives. By embracing silence, we position ourselves to hear His voice, witness His power, and experience the fullness of His plans. Let us approach moments of stillness with confidence, knowing that in silence, God is working, orchestrating His purposes for our good and His glory. Silence as a spiritual discipline is a tool that not only strengthens our faith, but also cultivates our spiritual resilience. It teaches us the discipline of waiting on God, resisting the urge to solve everything with our own hands. This waiting is not passive. It is an active trust in His promises, a recognition that His ways are higher than ours, and that His timing is always perfect. In moments of silence, we learn to shift our focus from the problem to the provider. Instead of fixating on the challenges before us, we are reminded of God's sovereignty and His ability to handle every situation. This change in perspective allows us to experience divine peace even amid uncertainty or conflict. Philippians 4 verse 7 assures us, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Silence opens the doors for this peace to flood our lives. Furthermore, silence can be a profound act of worship. By choosing to control our tongue, we declare that we trust in God's wisdom and justice above our own. It is a way of saying, "Lord, I surrender my words, my emotions, and my need for control to You." This act of surrender honors God and invites His power to work in ways our efforts never could.